Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitanyena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manovristam Stapikam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadanti Swan Padantikam Vande Ham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatha Vitamscha Sadhvetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitan Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Vishakavitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhayascha Kripa Sindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Namah Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschate Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasau Ite Jayudire. Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyauttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. Nashbhavati Jai. So Hare Krishna everyone and a very warm welcome to the Sunday morning Śrimad Bhagāvatam class at Iskcon Hong Kong.
歡迎咁多位嚟講係參與香港Iskcon香港呢個星期日嘅一個聖典博加雅談早課。
So today we are doing Śrimad Bhagāvatam Canto 1 Chapter 10 Verse number 23.
今日我哋讀嘅詩節係聖典博加雅談第一篇第10章第23節。
So 1.10.23. 1.10.23 Savayam yat padamatta surayo jitendriya nirjita matra rishvana Pashyanti bhakti utkalit manatmana nanvesa sattvam parishramtam arhati. Saha he
他
why by providence
天意
I am this
這
yat
一
that which
that which 的
padam atra
Pratam Atra
here is the same personality of Godhead Shri Krishna.
所以同一位至尊人格守神主 Krishna
Suraya
Shuraya
great devotee
偉大的奉獻者
Jitendriya
Itendriya
one who have overcome the influence of the senses.
控制了感官衝動的人。
Nirjita,
Nijita
thoroughly controlled.
完全控制了。
Matarishvana,
Matarisvara
life.
生命
Pashyanti,
Pasyanti
can be. Bhakti,
Bhakti
by dint of devotional service.
行藉奉愛服務
Utkalita,
Utkanita
developed.
發展
Amala Atmana,
Atmana
those whose minds are thoroughly cleansed.
那些內心完全淨化了的人。
Nanu Esha,
Nano Asia
certainly by this only.
肯定只有這樣
Sattvam,
Sattvam
existence.
存在
Parimarshtam,
Parimarshtam
for purifying the mind completely.
為了完全淨化內心
Arhati,
Ahati
deserve.
應得。
Here is the same Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose transcendental form is experienced by the great devotees who are completely cleansed of material consciousness by the dint of rigid devotional service and full control of life and the senses. And that is the only way to purify existence.
這就是那同一位至尊正格守神，那些靠堅定地做奉愛服務並完全控制了自己感官與生活，徹底清除物質意識的偉大奉獻者們，可以體驗到他超然嘅形象，而這是唯一能淨化生存嘅方式。
Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
Jai Srila Prabhupada. As it is stated in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord can be known in His real nature by dint of pure devotional service only. So it is stated here that only the great devotees of the Lord who are able to clear the mind of all material dust by rigid devotional service can experience the Lord as He is. Jitendriya means one who has full control over the senses. The senses are active parts of the body and their activities cannot be stopped. The artificial means of the yogic process to make the senses inactive has proved to be an abject failure, even in the case of great yogis like Vishwamitra Muni. Vishwamitra Muni controlled the sense by yogic trance, but when he happened to meet with Menika, a heavenly society woman, he became a victim of sex, and the artificial way of controlling the senses failed. But in the case of a pure devotee, the senses are not at all artificially stopped from doing anything, but they are given different good engagements. When the senses are engaged in more attractive activities, there is no chance of their being attracted by any inferior engagements. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the senses can be controlled only by better engagements. Devotional service necessitates purifying the senses or engaging them in activity of devotional service. Devotional service is not inaction. Anything done in the service of the Lord becomes at once purified of its material nature. The material conception is due to ignorance only. There is nothing beyond Vasudev. The Vasudev conception gradually develops in the heart of the learned after a prolonged acceleration of the receptive organs. But the process ends in the knowledge of accepting Vasudev as all in all. In the case of devotional service, this very same method is accepted from the very beginning, and by the grace of the Lord, all factual knowledge becomes revealed in the heart of a devotee due to dictation by the Lord from within. Therefore, controlling the senses by devotional service is the only and easiest means. Hare Krishna.
要此，正如《波迦梵歌》中說明的，只有靠做純粹嘅奉愛服務，才能了解至尊主嘅真正本質。因此，這詩節中說，只有至尊主那些能夠靠堅定地做奉獻服務，清除心中一切物質塵埃的優秀奉獻者，才能感知到至尊主嘅真正形象。詩節中梵文 Jitendriya 一詞嘅意思是完全控制了感官的人。感官是軀體的活躍部分，它們不能停止其活動。靠瑜伽修練程序中使感官停止活動的非自然方法控制感官，經證明是歷盡艱辛，但卻將以失敗告終嘅方法。就連偉大嘅瑜伽師Vishwamitra Muni 也難逃這樣的結局。Vishwamitra Muni 靠瑜伽神定控制了他的感官，可他一旦遇到了天堂社交女郎 Minaga， 變成了性欲的受害者。他用非自然嘅方式控制感官，以失敗而告終。至於純粹嘅奉獻者，他們根本不用非自然嘅方法停止感官活動，而是安排感官從事各樣虔誠嘅活動。感官忙於從事更有吸引力的高級活動，就沒有機會受到低級活動嘅吸引。博家梵光中說，只有讓感官從事更好嘅活動，才能控制感官。奉愛服務本身就是意味着淨化感官，或讓他從事奉愛服務的活動。奉愛服務不是不活動，用於為至尊主做服務嘅一切，其他物質是立刻得到淨化。僅因為愚昧，人才會有物質嘅概念。世上呢一切沒有一樣超出 Vasudeva 嘅範疇。容易接受信息嘅感官被長時間地淨化後， Vasudeva 嘅概念就會在博學之人嘅心中逐漸發展起來。但獲得知識嘅整個程序，以接受 Vasudeva 是一切為結局。至於奉愛服務，人從一開始就用他嘅感官積極地為至尊主做服務，憑至尊主嘅恩典，經他嘅奉獻者心中給予指導，所有真正知識就會在奉獻者嘅心中揭示出來。因此，靠做奉愛服務控制感官是唯一有效的方法，也是最容易的方法。
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, today's verse, the broad context is in this chapter that Krishna is leaving Hastinapur and he is leaving Hastinapur for Dwarka.
咁呢次呢個詩節嚟講嘅係嘅題目嚟講講到係呢一章嚟講到 Krishna 係離開Hastinapur 翻去 Dwarka 嗰度。
So as he is leaving for Dwarka, the women of Hastinapur, they start talking with each other.
咁當 Krishna 係翻去Dwarka 時嚟講咧，咁喺Hastinapur 嗰啲婦女啊，咁佢哋見 Krishna 之後就互相嚟講就係咁樣説對話嘅。
Yeah. So they talk about purification of senses and about realizing the Supreme Lord.
咁佢講到係關於感官嘅點樣得到淨化啦，同埋一個係對至尊主嗰個覺悟。
Now, what the women in Hastinapur say and what Srila Prabhupada has put in the purport is very interesting.
咁當嗰個譯文講到係啲婦女佢嘅嗰番對話係點係咩一回事，而另外一個就係講到譬如拋要旨嚟講咧，係點樣係提及到呢啲嘢，講到呢啲嘢嗰陣時嚟講係好講得好係有趣嘅。
So it's almost like a circular logic.
咁講到嚟講一種係好一個循環性一個咁嘅哲學咁樣嘅。
Like the chicken and the egg situation.
咁好似我哋講到就好似譬如嗰個循環啊，就好似講到話講有雞同埋個蛋邊樣先
Like which came first, the chicken or the egg?
好似譬如我哋好多時講究竟係蛋先啦，有蛋先定係有雞先。
So the whole discussion is about purification of the senses, and it's only when senses are purified that one can realize Krishna.
咁個討論嚟講就係講到嚟講就係當你個感官得到淨化之後嚟講，你先能夠喺度係感知到 Krishna。
But the senses are purified by Krishna, by devotion to Krishna.
但係感官你點樣得到淨化咧？而係透過Krishna 你先能夠得到淨化。
So this is a tricky situation.
所以呢個係都要幾得意一個狀況度。
Yeah? Because like in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami says in a very famous verse, Rupa Goswami says, Atha Shri Krishna Namadi na bhavet grahamendriya sevan mukho hi jivadahu swam eva spurati etadha. So Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.23.4
咁喺奉我啲甘露盧巴哥話咪嚟講，我引咗個有趣嘅詩節就係1.2.234嘅詩節。
He says no one can understand the transcendental nature of Krishna with his contaminated senses.
冇一個人嚟講咧，係能夠用佢嘅污染咗嘅感官嚟講咧，能夠明白到超然嘅一個本 Krishna 一個超然嘅一個品質嘅。
So only when the contamination of the senses is removed can we experience the love of Krishna.
咁當我哋呢個污染嘅感官得到淨化之後咧，我哋先能夠可以係明白到係 Krishna 嗰個超然嘅地位。
Yeah. So that is why, like, while all of us and we are devotees and we all chant, but why is it that we are not able to fully relish our chanting?
咁所以點解我哋奉獻者嚟講，即使又唱頌都好啦，但係我哋創頌嚟講咧，仲未能夠完全係品嚐到嗰種咁嘅味道。
So, for instance, we start chanting or we come to the temple, we take part in kirtan.
咁或者我哋嚟到廟嗰度嚟講唱頌，或者我哋係參與嘅唱頌 kirtan 啦。
Yeah. Okay. Somewhat we feel okay, we feel nice, but we are not able to fully relish it. It's not that we get ecstatic or we go into a trance.
咁或者我哋係感到係感覺係幾好喺度，但係至於去到完全一個品嚐到嗰個聖名嘅味道，或者係逐一狂喜或者進步狀態，暫時仲未到。
Yeah. So the reason why we are not able to enjoy, appreciate or enjoy the rasa is because our senses are contaminated.
點解我哋仲未能夠明白到呢種嘅品味啊？咁由於我哋感官嚟講仍然係受到污染。
So not just are our senses contaminated, they are also limited.
唔單止我哋感官係受到污染，亦都我哋感官都係受到限制。
So for example, we can think that our eyes, I only believe what I see.
咁就好似我哋講嚟講，我只會係相信我哋係隻眼見到嘅眼見嘅嘢。
But our eyes are limited.
但我哋雙眼嚟講係有限制。
We can only see the spectrum, between violet to red. That's the spectrum we can see.
咁就好似一個光譜嚟講，我哋係紫色嘅顏色啊，照到另一個個光譜嚟講咧，即係喺個某一個範圍我哋可以睇到。
But if something is in the ultraviolet or the infrared spectrum, we cannot see it.
但係至於嚟講係喺呢個光譜以外，呢紫外線啊，有啲紅外線有啲嚟講咧，我哋就睇唔到。
Now, because we can't see something doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
但係我哋見唔到嘅嘢嚟講咧，係唔代表係唔存在。
So, for example, like a honeybee can see ultraviolet light.
咁好似譬如一個蜜蜂嚟講咧，可以係見到啲係光啦，啲光線啦。
So many different things appear to the honeybee which do not appear to us.
咁響一個蜜蜂入邊，佢嘅眼入邊，即係蜜蜂佢睇到嘅嘢嚟講，或者喺我哋面前，喺我哋嚟講，我哋未必係睇得到嘅。
Yeah. So we cannot just say that, like what I am seeing is only the reality. The reality is far bigger than whatever we are seeing.
咁我哋睇到嘢咁唔能夠話我哋睇嘅嚟講就係所有嘅事實喺度。咁我哋睇到嘅嘢嚟講可能係事實嘅某一部分。
So our senses are both limited as well as contaminated.
所以就好似我講，我哋嘅感官嚟講咧，係既受到污染咧，又係受到限制。
And that is why, many times, especially when we encounter some atheists, they say, if God exists, show me God, show me Krishna.
咁所以有時我哋會咁講咗，Krishna，你係神，你俾我睇到你啦，俾我睇到你係 Krishna。
Forget about seeing God or anything. You can't even see things which are in infrared or ultraviolet spectrum of light.
咁根本就算連呢個所謂啲紅外線、紫外光我哋都睇唔到嚟講，咁何況係講到神嘅點可以睇到佢咧？
But that is scientifically proven. It exists.
但係我哋從科學嘅一個角度嚟講，可以證明佢嘅存在。
So for us to understand that our senses are limited, and especially for this particular verse also, that our senses are contaminated.
咁所以我哋首先要明白就係我哋感官受到污染，所以好似喺呢個特別嘅詩節嚟講咧，我哋係要知道呢一點。
So the obvious question which comes in our mind，
咁呢個第一個問題，跟住就喺我哋腦海就會諗到噶啦。
is how to purify the senses.
咁我哋點樣係淨化我哋嘅感官咧？
So there are broadly two paths.
咁我哋將佢係分咗兩部分講。
So one is the path of the yogi.
咁我哋講到一部分，第一嚟講咧，就係一啲瑜伽師。
And the path of the yogi is the path of knowledge and the path of restraining the senses.
咁一條路嚟講咧，即係一個收集嘅部分兩部分啦。收集部分嚟講，有儒家收集，另一部分嚟講咧，就係用我哋透過知識透過點樣控制我哋感官嚟講係做到。
So the yogi, following the process of knowledge and of meditation, tries to restrain his senses.
咁儒家師係透過嚟講做觀想啦，同埋透過知識嚟講咧，藉住呢啲咁嘅方式嚟講係控制佢哋嘅感官。
And that is where in today's purport, the example of Vishwamitra Muni is given.
咁就好似今日個要旨有提到嚟講個例子就係一個Vishwamitra 呢個聖人一樣。
So he does lot of penance to control his senses.
佢係做好嚴厲嘅苦行啦，係藉住咁樣嚟講係控制佢嘅感官。
Yeah. So the yogis analyze everything and they say, mind is there, above mind is intelligence. I will use my intelligence, I'll use my willpower, I'll use my concentration to restrain my senses.
咁你而家先有方面嘅知識啦，知道嚟講去用佢嘅智慧嚟講控制佢心意喺度啦，然後透過佢心意嚟講咧係控制嘅感官係咁樣做。
But what does Prabhupada tell us? Like what happens to such a jnani, a knowledgeable person, a yogi? What finally happens to such a yogi?
咁但係拼泡泡要知道係點樣講，佢知啲咁嘅思辨家或者啲咩瑜伽師，佢用佢嘅方法收集，最後結果係點樣咧？
So Prabhupada tells us from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse number 19.
咁泡泡同我哋講到嚟講又講到個詩節就係博家梵歌第7章第19個詩節。
Bahunam janmanamante jnanvan mam prapadyate Vasudeva sarvamiti sa mahatma sadurlabham. So basically after many birth and death, bahunam janmanamante jnanvan mam prapadyate. The knowledge, the man in knowledge, the yogi, after many births, finally surrenders to me and he says Vasudeva sarvamiti sa mahatma sadurlabham. So he reaches a Vasudeva state that everything finally is Vasudeva.
咁透過經咗好多生好多世嘅一個之後嚟講咧，喺明白到嚟講，至尊主就係Vasudeva，喺明白到佢就係所有嘅源頭咧，你係認識佢係歸依佢。
Yeah. So this is the long drawn process, but eventually the yogi comes to the realization that Vasudeva Sarvamiti.
咁呢個係比較長嘅一個過程嚟嘅。佢經過呢個過程咁長嘅過程之後嚟講，佢最終係明白到嚟講係至尊主Vasudeva先係最終嘅。
Yeah. So following deep process of logic, yogic meditation, and so many other things, this is the conclusion.
咁當你跟隨呢啲邏輯啊、啲思辨啊，或者啲瑜伽修習嚟講咧，最終嘅結論就係得出頭先我哋講嘅一個認識Vasudeva。
Whereas a devotee,
對一個奉獻者嚟講咧
in the beginning only makes this conclusion that, my dear Lord, you are all powerful, I surrender unto you.
你對奉獻者嚟講咧，佢作出第一個點嚟講已經做到就係至尊主，你係我嘅一切嚟講，我要係臣服於你。
And to such a devotee, the Lord reciprocates and helps.
咁而係Krishna 係為回報啲奉獻者嚟講咧，係俾個答案。
And this is explained in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verse number 10.
而呢個 Krishna 將博家梵歌第10章就10詩節咁樣解釋。
Where Krishna says, Tesham sataja yuktanam bhayatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. So he says, Tesham sataja yuktanam bhayatam pritipurvakam. So those who worship me with love.
嗰啲係用愛心嚟講崇拜我嘅。
And what does Lord give? He says, Dadami buddhi yogam tam. The Lord gives him the intelligence, the knowledge by which one can come to him.
主會俾佢哋嘅一個智慧啦，同一啲知識嚟講，等佢透過咁樣嚟，藉住咁樣嚟講，可以係嚟到去嗰度。
Yeah, so a devotee gets it easy because devotee just, out of love for the Lord empowers the devotee and from within guides the devotee with all the right knowledge.
所以奉獻者好簡單，只係充滿愛心咁樣係歸於主崇服主崇拜主咧，咁主就會係俾一個喺內在嚟講做個指引啦，俾一個智慧嘅知識嚟講係去到佢嗰度。
Whereas the jnani's path is a long drawn path, but ultimately the Jnani also comes to the same conclusion that Vasudev Sarvamiti.
咁而思辨家又好啊，而家哲學嚟講，佢哋經過好長時間嘅一啲嘅過程一個收集嚟講，最後嚟講都同樣一個結論嘅。
Yeah. So the question may be asked, why are there then so many paths? If bhakti is the best, or bhakti is there, then why do all these so many other yogas exist? And why does Krishna teach them also in the Bhagavad Gita?
咁有啲人就講係啦，咁如果係奉愛係最好，點解 Krishna 仍然喺博家梵歌講到有呢個唔同嘅一個瑜伽咧？
So the answer to that is that all of us are of different nature.
咁答案嚟講就係由於每一個人嚟講有唔同嘅一個天性。
In Shastras, we have the word called as Swabhav.
咁我哋喺經典嚟講有個字叫 Swabhav。
And in normal life also we see, like outside of Krishna consciousness, different people have different traits. Like people have got their own personality.
咁我哋喺 Krishna 呢個睇到嚟講，就唔同嘅人嚟講有唔同一個性格喺度。
Some people are extrovert, some people are introvert.
有啲人嚟講比較內，有啲外向。
Yeah. Some people are very logical, some people are more emotional.
有啲人嚟講係比較係仲偏向係理性啲、邏輯方面嘅，而有啲人嚟講咧係比較中意係感性啲嘅。
So because all of us have got different swabhav or nature.
咁由於我哋係天生嚟講有好多唔同嘅一個天性喺度。
Different things appeal to different people.
對某啲人嚟講咧，佢睇嘅嘢嚟講係有唔同喺度嘅。
Yeah, just like somebody will be naturally inclined to graduate in, let's say, maths, physics, or very analytical kind of subject.
咁好似譬如有啲人比較中意係物理啊、數學啊，係理科方面嘅。
But then there may be someone else who doesn't have interest in these subjects, but he'll find language, literature, or music very appealing.
而相反嚟講，有一啲人嚟講比較有興趣，譬如文學方面嘅即係語言啊、文學啊，或者係音樂方面嘅。
So similarly, the Lord is very kind and very merciful.
而天主嚟講係好仁慈啦，同埋好憐憫心嘅。
So the easy and the direct process of bhakti is available.
而呢個奉我而家嚟講咧，係方便於俾某一啲人啦。
However, there are other people with different swabhav, and they say, no, I only go by logic.
咁而係正如講到有唔同嘅人有唔同嘅天性，有啲人嚟講，我中意係邏輯方面嘅。
So I'm only an analytical person. I'm not a sentimental person to just take up a
我
path.
係比較中意係做分析嘅，我係唔係一啲感性嘅人。
So the Lord says, yes, okay, sure, no problems. And then there is the process of Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, all those, the yoga processes there.
咁所以至於嚟講好啊，冇問題。咁如果係咁，你咪可以選擇呢個思辨瑜伽或者一個冥想瑜伽、觀想瑜伽呢個 Jnana Yoga。
However, the Lord just also explains that one is a very direct short path and the other is a long winding path.
咁而主亦都係講到嚟講一個嚟講比較走得快啲嘅一個門徑嗰度，而一個係比較係長啲嘅一個路途。
And in Iskcon, in Krishna consciousness movement, that's what Prabhupada has taught us, to take the direct path of bhakti.
而聖泡泡我哋 Iskcon 嚟講就係聖泡教導我哋呢個比較最直接一個收集嘅一個途徑。
So when the yogis try to purify their senses, they purify by restraining, by repressing.
咁而你啲瑜伽師嚟講點樣透過係淨化感官，透過係控制佢哋係限制自己嘅感官喺度，壓抑佢嘅感官。
Yeah. Whereas the devotees are motivated by Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 verse number 59.
而奉者嚟講咧係用一個方法就好似博吉梵歌第2章第59個詩節咁樣講。
Where Krishna tells us param drishtva nivartate, which means a superior taste. Param drishtva nivartate.
咁 Krishna 嘅詩節講到就係話我哋透過品嚐更高嘅品味。
So we work towards developing a superior taste.
咁我哋係培養到啲更高嘅一個品味啦。
Yeah. And again, outside of Krishna consciousness also, in life we do find, like, somebody who's more refined has got some better elevated tastes than somebody who's at a more lower level of existence.
咁好似譬如我哋喺出邊都有時睇到外邊啲人嚟講，有啲人嘅品味比較係高啲，而有啲係品味係比較係低俗啲嘅。
Yeah, somebody who's very cultured, very nicely educated, likes certain kind of conversations. That's what appeals to that person.
咁好似譬如透過某一啲人嘅一啲對話嚟講咧，你可以睇到啊，有啲人嚟講係有文化、有修養啲嘅。
And somebody who's very crude, very crass, likes other kind of conversations. Maybe likes conversations that are abusive or
咁好似譬如某
vulgar.
啲人嚟講嘅中意某一啲嘅對話嚟講住，有啲人嚟講佢比較粗俗啲嘅，佢就係中意係揾翻睇翻呢方面嘅一啲對話嘅人。
So bhakti is this process of developing a superior taste.
而奉愛嚟講就係培養出發展出一個更高嘅一個品味。
So the best example which is always given in Iskcon is about prasad.
咁響 Iskcon 嚟講咧，我哋好多時講一個最好嘅例子嚟講就係透過一個祭儀 prasadam。
Yeah. So in many of the very yogic schools, they refrain from eating any food that is tasty.
咁響有啲一啲瑜伽學校嚟講咧，佢哋係拒絕啊，係品嚐啊或者食一啲好有味好有味道嘅，即係好味嘅一啲食物。
They basically try to make the food bland, very bland, because you are controlling your senses. You don't want to indulge your senses in trying to eat all sorts of food, tasty food.
所以佢哋係俾做一啲係好清淡啊、無味嘅一啲咁嘅食物，因為佢哋嘅意思講，我哋唔應該係要控制我哋嘅感官啦，唔應該係縱容我哋嘅感官咁樣。
So they'll eat very bland food, just bare minimum, just to survive.
咁佢食得好清淡、好淡嘅食物喺度嚟講，佢目的嚟講，我淨係為我哋嘅身體就夠。
But what do we do in Iskcon? We make nice, lovely, delicious food.
但係喺我哋 Iskcon 嚟講，我做啲係充滿愛心啊、好食嘅啲好有味道嘅食物。
But we offer it to Lord Krishna.
但係我哋係會先供奉俾 Krishna，
And then we have it as prasadam.
然後透過供奉俾 Krishna 之後嚟講咧，咁我哋係再享用 Krishna 俾我哋嘅祭儀。
So then the devotees develop this superior taste of having prasadam.
然後奉獻之後透過咁樣嚟講，食用祭月嚟講咧，培養到係更高嘅一個品味。
And this is very wonderful.
呢個係十分之奇妙。
I know so many devotees who go in different parts of the world, who go out of their way to go to a temple just to have prasadam.
咁我認識有啲朋友嚟講咧，或者去世界唔同各地嘅唔同嘅廟宇嚟講咧，有時去到嚟講，佢哋都係想品嚐係嗰方面喺嗰邊嘅一個祭儀。
So practical example about just myself.
咁一個好似我自己啦，我親身嘅實際嘅經驗啦。
So I travel quite a lot.
咁我好多時會周圍去啦。
And there quite a few times I am in Mumbai.
咁好似譬如我有一隻去到孟買啦。
And many times come lunchtime.
咁好多時係到午餐嘅時候。
I many times travel many kilometers to go to one of our Iskcon temples to have prasadam.
好多時嚟講，我即使係好遠，即係經過一段路途嘅遙遠嚟講，我都去揾我哋 Iskcon 嗰啲廟宇嗰度嘅。
And this I do not just for our religious or spiritual reasons.
咁唔單止係為咗宗教嘅原則嘅收集或原則啦。
Yeah. That specifically I always eat because I don't always eat prasadam. Practicalities of life. So I want to eat prasadam all the time. But when I'm outside, I don't always get the good fortune of eating a prasadam.
咁因為好多時嚟講，出邊嚟講未必一定係好多時會有機會食到 prasadam。
But I go all the way as far as possible, as much as possible. Say if I'm traveling, say in Mumbai, to go to one of our temples to eat the prasadam.
所以我如果有機會嚟講啦，譬如好似我哋孟買嚟講啦，我想盡量抽時間喺我哋嘅廟宇嗰度係享用祭。
Because I relish the prasadam.
因為係好味道，我哋可以品嚐嗰啲 prasadam。
So given a choice between prasadam or a 5-star hotel food, I would choose prasadam.
咁如果你做一個比較，俾我一個選擇喺度，譬如5星級酒店嘅食物或者 prasadam嚟講咧，我會係選擇食 prasadam。
And this is what one finds with many devotees.
咁呢個就亦都好多奉獻者都係咁樣做。
Some devotees are very strict who only eat prasadam and nothing else.
而有啲奉獻者嚟講好嚴格喺度咧，淨係食祭魚喺度。
And which is the standard that we should follow if we can?
咁呢個係好好嘅，如果我哋能夠做得到。
But then many other devotees who travel many other places,
但係對其他有啲奉獻者嚟講咧，佢要去唔同嘅地方啦，
may not all the time eat prasadam.
未必一定係時時都能夠可以食得到祭魚喺度。
But when I have talked with the devotees, like in private, in confidentially,
咁但係當我如果譬如私底下同啲奉獻者傾偈嘅時候咧，
really most devotees say that they much prefer eating prasadam, like just everything, the taste, the relishment, everything of a prasadam is much better than the best of 5-star hotel foods.
咁啲奉獻者咧就會咁同我講嚟講當然一定會洗祭魚，因為祭魚嚟講咧，無論味道啊、品質方面嚟講都係一流喺度嘅，咁係好過你頭先所講5星級嘅酒店。
If one may just use a simple, normal, logical thinking, one would say, hello, that 5-star hotel, the food is cooked by the most expert chefs. There's so many varieties of dishes and so many things. So, I mean, if you asked a normal person, they would say, of course, the 5-star hotel food is much better.
咁而對外邊一啲人嚟講咧，當佢哋咁講嚟講，佢哋梗係講話，啲5星級酒店啲廚師梗係一流喺度啦，佢哋煮啲嘢又有唔同嘅一個食物喺度啊，咁佢煮啲一定係好食喺度。
But like nearly overwhelming number of devotees prefer prasadam over a 5-star hotel food.
但係對我哋大多數奉獻者嚟講咧，係中意祭魚係多過啲5星級酒店嘅食物。
And that is just an example of param drishtva nivartate, developing a superior taste.
咁呢個就係頭先我哋嗰先至講到嚟講，呢啲因為食祭魚嚟講就係更高嘅一個品味。
Yeah. So a devotee can very easily give up 5-star hotel food or the food of the best restaurant because devotee is attracted to the prasadam.
所以奉獻者嚟講，好容易嚟講就係放棄食5星級酒店嘅食物，而你係選擇俾食 prasadam 嘅。
So and similarly, when it comes to our other senses also, we utilize all those senses in devotional service to Lord Krishna.
同樣嚟講咧，我哋用我哋所有其他感官嚟講咧，都係用喺係服務 Krishna。
Yeah. So this is what also Prabhupada tells us in the purport. The senses are active. So senses are active. It is very tough, extremely tough to restrain or control the senses.
所以聖泡泡要知都講到我哋咧感官嚟講係活躍嘅，咁而嚟講係好難係控制喺度嘅。
But when you develop a superior taste, you use your senses in the service of Lord Krishna, the senses get purified.
但係如果我哋培養到更高嘅品味，用我哋嘅感官嚟服務 Krishna 咧，咁樣嚟講，我哋感官就會得到淨化。
Yeah, and the Lord and so Srila Prabhupada in today's purport writes one very beautiful line, and Prabhupada says, anything done in the service of the Lord becomes at once purified of its material nature.
咁聖泡泡向要知嚟講到一點嚟講就係，當我哋用乜嘢嚟講服務 Krishna 嚟講咧，馬上係得到係喺度淨化嘅，個本性得到淨化嘅。
Yes, senses are material.
係當然感官嚟講係屬於物質嘅。
Yes, the food which is there, food you eat, is material.
我哋所食嘅食物嚟講咧，食物都係物質嘅。
But that same food, when cooked for Krishna, for the pleasure of Krishna, it becomes purified of its material nature.
咁當我哋用呢啲食物物質嘅食物嚟講係煮完供奉俾 Krishna 嚟講咧，呢啲物質嘢嚟即係到轉化。
Yeah. So the process of, like we started today's class by asking the question, like we said, it's like a chicken and the egg situation, right? Only when your senses are purified, you can really do devotion to Krishna, but it's devotion only that purifies the senses, right? It's like a round loop.
咁就好似我今朝講呢個循環嚟嘅，究竟係咪有雞先有蛋先？就好似譬如我哋淨化感官先可以服務 Krishna， 但係服務 Krishna 嚟講先可以淨化我哋嘅感官。
So one may ask, oh wow, this is confusing.
咁有啲人講究竟係邊樣先喺度？好似有少少混亂。
So one can understand by a modern day example, like how computers solve a problem.
咁好似譬如我哋用今時嘅今日嚟咁睇，就譬如好似我哋用電腦嚟講，可以解決我哋好多嘅問題啦。
Yeah. So let's say I asked you the question 6 divided by 2, and you will say, oh, that's easy, it's 3.
咁好似譬如我問你6除以2係個答案係咩咧？你好簡單咧，就等於3。
But when you enter in a computer 6 divided by 2, the computer does not know, like you and I, come to the answer 3.
咁但係當你係將呢個問題輸入電腦嗰陣時嚟講咧，電腦嗰個諗法嚟講唔係好似你同我咁樣去諗嘅。
So the computer, the way it does is, I won't go into all the mathematics, but computer assumes first some answer. Like let's assume answer is 4. And then the computer keeps changing that answer, and keep refining. And finally, when it converges, it says, okay, the answer is 3.
咁電腦嚟講會係咁樣喺度將問題分析，係將分細，最後你覺得出個結論嚟講就係等於3。
So by trial again, because computer can do the same things a million times.
因為電腦嚟講係不斷嚟講做一樣嘢，可以做重複嚟講上千次都可以做同一樣嘢嘅。
Like when you and I are given the problem 6 divided by 2, we don't think in our minds a million times. Like we do it one time.
好似譬如當我哋頭先講到個問題，譬如6除2等於幾多嚟講，我哋個腦嚟講咧，淨係用一次嚟講，我哋就係走答案，唔會係咁喺度運算嘅。
But computer starts with the wrong answer actually. It assumes any number, some 4 or something.
咁但係電腦嚟講，可能開始嚟講用個錯嘅答案嚟講，跟住慢慢係呢個唔係，嗰個唔係，最後嗰個先係得出嘅，所以經過好多次嘅運算嚟講，先得到3呢個答案。
And it keeps refining the answer.
然後跟住嚟講係不斷嚟講係尋找否定咁樣。
And finally comes the solution.
你最後嚟講，得到個準確嘅答案。
Yeah. But it does it so fast that we cannot make it out.
咁當然啦，佢呢個做得好快啦，快到嚟講我哋係唔知道係咁樣。
So similarly, we start devotional process, our senses are contaminated. Like all of us, our senses are contaminated.
咁當然啦，我哋開始做服務嚟講呢個感官嚟講係污染㗎啦。
Yeah. So we say, yeah, Krishna, you are supreme. I cannot have that right bhakti. I cannot enjoy devotional service. I cannot do because my senses are contaminated.
咁當然啦，我哋會向至尊主咁講啦。咁我哋係至尊主，因為我哋感官係受到污染喺度啦，我唔能夠可以係崇拜做奉獻服務咧向你。
But Śrimad Bhagāvatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, verse number 17 and 18 explain this very nicely.
但係喺《博伽亞談》嘅第一篇第2章第17、18個詩節嚟講咧，好解釋得係好清楚。
So verse number 17 is Shunvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridayantosto Bhadrani Vidhunoti Suritsatam. So Shunvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridayantosto Bhadrani Vidhunoti Suritsatam. So when we start taking Krishna's name, what happens?
當我哋係當係提及到或者講述到 Krishna 嘅聖名嘅名詞之後咧
So Hridayantosta Bhadrani, all the bad things as well as all the material desires, they start disappearing.
咁所以我哋嘅物質嘅個污染或者要我哋講咧，馬上會消失。
And then the 18th verse, which is very popular, the next verse, which we say every time in the beginning of Śrimad Bhagāvatam class, which is Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyottam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. So, Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu, all the past contaminations which are there in our heart, they go away by the study of Śrimad Bhagavatam, by Krishna and Krishna's devotees. Yeah, by studying about Krishna, like the Bhagavat or the devotees of Krishna.
咁第18詩節嘅好有名嘅詩節啦，咁每一次我上早課都會念嘅，就係透過閱讀聆聽聖典博伽亞談啦，同埋向啲聖人即係純粹奉獻者做奉獻服務啦，內心所有啲污染嚟講咧，就會係消失殆盡。
So by the grace of Krishna, by the grace of devotees, and by the grace of scriptures,
透過個奉獻者嘅仁慈咧 ，Krishna 仁慈啦，同埋經典嘅仁慈咧。
So that is how our sense purification starts happening.
所以呢個就係我哋嘅感官嚟講係能夠點樣係得到淨化。
And as our senses get purified, we are able to do devotional service much better.
當我哋嘅感官係得到淨化嚟講咧，我哋會更好咁做奉獻服務。
And we are able to enjoy it more.
我哋可以係更加咁享受好啲。
So as we start doing devotional service more and we enjoy it more, our senses get even more purified.
咁當我哋係更 享受更多嚟講，我哋嘅感官嚟講又會進一步係得到係淨化。
And then the senses get even more purified. We can do devotional service even more better. We even start enjoying it
咁
more.
當我哋感覺到淨化嚟講，咁我哋做嘅奉獻服務係更加係好喺度咧，而得到嘅品味啊，咁享受嚟講係更加高嘅。
So it's a constant, like round the loop process.
咁呢個就好似咁個循環喺度。
Yeah. Till the time we are fully purified.
咁我哋可以係完全最後嚟講係得到完全嘅淨化。
And when we are fully purified, then we can really appreciate and have the transcendental bliss of the Lord's holy name and our devotional service.
咁當我哋係得到個完全淨化嚟講，我哋就會品嚐到啦，或者欣賞係至尊主一個甜美嘅。
So the last point, I'll close today's class. So in today's class, we talked also about the yogic process and we talked also about the bhakti process.
咁我最後一點嚟講，想提嘅就係喺呢個要知講到我哋今日講到就係話有提到呢個瑜伽嘅一個瑜伽師嘅修習方法咧，同埋一個奉愛嘅一個修習嘅方法。
And especially many times when people come to Iskcon, people from outside.
咁好多時嚟講，譬如有啲人喺啲外人啊，外邊嘅人嚟到 Iskcon 咧。
And sometimes they come from other schools, like from a yogi school or a Jnani kind of a school. They come.
咁有時啲人嚟講，即係其他嘅學派喺度啊，或者啲其他嘅瑜伽學院啊、修院嚟嘅。
And when they come to Iskcon, they suddenly start feeling very disturbed.
咁佢哋嚟到嚟講，覺得係唔係咁舒服喺度，即係話唔係咁睇得咁順眼喺度。
What is it? You're only talking about bhakti, but that other yoga is there, that process is there, that is also great. Krishna tells about this process. Why are you like so stuck up just on one thing?
咁佢哋會講，其實唔單止淨係得奉我而家呢個途徑喺度，有其他嘅瑜伽修習途徑喺度。點解你一定要係黐住收集呢個奉我而家呢個途徑
So the question comes, is bhakti the topmost?
呢個問題就係咁樣講，就係話其實奉我而家嚟講係最高級嘅。
Yeah. So while there are many verses in the Śrimad for each yoga system, where again Krishna keeps mentioning the superiority of bhakti.
咁響譬如 Kishore 提到好多唔同瑜伽嘅體系，最後嚟講，亦都會提到嚟講個奉我而家係點樣係得係最點樣就係淨化嘅。
But very conclusively, Krishna tells in Bhagavad-gītā chapter 18, verse number 55.
咁 Krishna 嚟講就係響博家法第18章第59個詩節嚟講，好濃縮好專咁樣係講出嚟嘅。
Krishna says, Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavaniyasjasmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato gyatva vishyate tadanantaram. So he says, Bhaktya mam abhijanati. So only a devotee can understand me.
咁 Krishna 呢個詩節講就係只有奉獻者嚟講先能夠明白我。
Yeah. So not the jnani, not the yogi, not any other follower of any other yoga. The only person who can really understand Krishna is Bhaktya Mam Abhijanati, only the devotee.
唔係啲瑜伽師或者思辨家或者係其他嘅修習嘅門徑嘅人，而只有奉獻者先能夠明白 Krishna。
So if you want to really realize Lord Shri Krishna as the women of Hastinapur are talking with each other, if one wants to really realize the Lord, the only way is bhakti.
咁如果你係想好似係Hastinapur有啲婦女喺度啊，你點樣係能夠認識 Krishna 明白 Krishna 嚟講咧？只係透過修習奉我而家先能夠做到。
Granthāraj Śrimad Bhagāvatam ki Jai Krishna.